Jake's in charge. Just for this little part right here. Jake's the man. I am. Good morning. I'd like to go ahead and welcome everyone and call the meeting to order for the Truckee Meadows Water Authority at 10 a.m. May I ask for a roll call, please?
Yes. Anderson? Here. Andriola?
Present.
Ebert? Member Ebert is online. If you are online, please unmute yourself, Member Ebert. Not yet, okay. I will know when she arrives.
Thank you.
Hill is not here. Reese?
Here.
Taylor?
Here.
Zimmerman? Here. Herzick?
Here.
We have a quorum, Ms. Chair.
Thank you. I'd like to go ahead and ask the attorney if he would like to actually do the Pledge of Allegiance since he's the attorney today.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd like to go ahead and look at the public comment. Do we have any public comment? We do. Great. So is there a notice that you all read, please? Thank you.
Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per person. No action may be taken on a matter raised under public comment that is not included on the agenda. The chair may prohibit comment if the content of the comments is a topic that is not relevant to or within the authority of TMWA, or if the content is willfully disruptive of the meeting by being slanderous, offensive, inflammatory, or amounting to personal attacks, or interfering with the rights of the Board of Directors, TMWA staff, or meeting participants. Any person making willfully disruptive remarks may be removed from the room and barred from attending the remainder of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. We do have Janice Howard for public comment. And if you could, I know it's repetitive, but just go ahead for the record and introduce your name, please.
My name is Janice Howard.
Thank you. Go ahead, proceed.
Thank you. My name is Janice Howard, and I'm 85 years old. I have lived at my current residence at 1750 Trabert Way in Sparks for the last 61 years. I am here because I received a 48-hour of termination notice on Friday, November 22nd, after 5:30, when your business office closes, indicating that my water would be shut off at 7:30 on Monday morning. What recourse did I have? I had received and paid my last bill from TMWA on September 10th. I did not receive any other paper bill or e-bill until I received the 48-hour termination notice on November 22nd. I had no way of contacting you and that late Friday night. However, I did go through my Bank of America bill pay, but you would not receive the payment until Tuesday, which would be a day late. I also found on the website a place to pay, so I paid again. I paid double. I was able to do that. Many seniors don't have that capability. I sent an email on Sunday with my explanation and received an email back on Monday saying my account had been changed to e-bill. I receive my important bills by paper bills, and I pay them immediately through my Bank of America bill pay. I have never authorized payment through e-bills. I did not change this notification, and I also never received an e-bill or a paper bill from TMWA in October. This 48-hour termination from TMWA to a senior citizen is not okay. I also had an elderly neighbor in my very same block who lived in his house for at least
Stay for a moment and have someone from TMWA help you, and then stay for a moment and have someone from TMWA help you, and then I'm sure staff will also follow up. Mr. Zimmerman is already shaking his head that he'll follow up.
Could I just say one more sentence?
Sure.
I would strongly feel that TMWA should be required to give 3 to 5 business working days before they shut off a person's water. I don't know where else to go from here.
Staff will help
I don't know whether
you.
the legislature, I don't know where to go from here.
I think it would be great to follow up, and I think your suggestion is going to be welcomed by TMWA as well. So I'll let you guys connect.
Yeah, Chair Andriola, ma'am, sorry about your situation. You can talk to Marcy Westlake, who can kind of walk you through the process. She's in the back as you're heading out.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
Ms. Chair, I would like to note Councilmember Ebert joined us at 10:03.
Thank you. Welcome, Ms. Ebert. So we'll go, any other public comment?
Not at this time.
Okay, hearing none, we'll move to item number 4 for any board comments or acknowledgements. Well, obviously, I just looked to Miss Taylor, Member Taylor. She said no, but I'm going to go ahead and acknowledge Miss Taylor to welcome her. Do you have a speech ready? You know that there's a
I
requirement.
think I'm just an alternate
You do
for
have
today,
3
right?
minutes, but
We do it next
we
time.
can maybe extend it, but anyway, but really welcome
Thank
to
you.
the board. That was the shortest speech that I've ever heard. Okay, thank you. Member Reese? Member Anderson? Member Ebert, any comments?
No,
Hearing-
not at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. So hearing none, we'll move to item number 5, which is approval of the agenda. Does anyone have any changes or anything that you'd like to reorder?
Move to approve.
I have a motion from Member Reese. Do I have a second?
Second.
So I have a second from Paul Anderson. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. We'll now move to item number 6, which is recognition of board members for Ms. Breckus, Mr. Reese, and we have former Chair Christopher Dare. Those are big shoes to fill, Mr. Dare. He's in the audience, and I feel like he's watching. I hope I'm doing half as good a job as he has in the past. Unfortunately, Member Breckus is not here today, but I do think that there's an opportunity to recognize each of the members that are here. And Mr. Zimmerman, would you like to
Sure.
help with that?
Yeah, so, and I reached out to Member Breckus and let her know we were going to acknowledge her today. She appreciated it. She said she appreciated TMWA staff over the years that she was on the board. She learned a lot, and she really appreciated it. So we want to thank her for those years of service. And then Member Reese, we're sorry to let him go, but we're okay with that. But he's been a very good TMWA board member, so we appreciate it, and we look forward to him potentially serving on the TMWA board in the future. And then, as you said, Mr. Dare in the audience, our immediate past chair, has served on the TMWA board for a long time, almost about the same time that I've been at TMWA. So I've always appreciated his judgment, his guidance to the TMWA team, and his appreciation for staff. We have an appreciation gift for Member Reese. We have a TMWA backpack. And then I'd ask Andy Gebhardt to go ahead and come up and say a few words for Member Christopher Dare, and also has a small token of our appreciation for him as well. Thank you, Chair.
I think you did a great job on the bow, by the way. You have to share that later.
I worked very hard on the little. Andy Gebhardt for the record.
Mr. Deere, come up.
Come on up, Christopher. Yes. I just want to take this opportunity to thank Christopher for everything he's done for TMWA. One of the great things that Christopher probably doesn't know this, but the TMWA staff feels or felt is he always had our back. He always had, you know, he would listen to what staff said. Not that we were always right. I mean, everybody makes mistakes. But at least he didn't jump to conclusions and automatically assume that we did something wrong. And the staff appreciated that because staff puts a lot of work into TMWA into ensuring that we're doing the best that we can. And the support that Christopher, that you lend staff is tremendous. And on a personal note, I got to know Christopher. I consider him a friend. And I was pretty sad when he was no longer going to be on our board. And so with that said, Christopher, you get your very own. You can mount that maybe over the fireplace or something.
My wife will love that.
You know?
Show us. What is it?
It's his nameplate.
Plaque.
Oh,
Look at that. And then here you go.
Oh, let's see what we got here.
Oh, don't wreck the wrapping.
Really? I'm gonna keep the bow. Let's see.
There goes the beautiful bow.
Box, too. Whoever did this wasn't you. This is wrapped too well.
What did I just say about supporting staff? Do you need help for crying out loud?
I think so. Oh, that's cool. It's a clock. Oh, that's cool. But it's a clock. And it says, "Thank you for all the support you've given staff while serving on the TMWA board." And that's fantastic.
First time I golfed with Christopher, he was pulled out a pipe to smoke on the golf course. I golfed with a lot of people smoking a lot of different things, most of them legal, but I'd never golfed with somebody that smoked a pipe, and so I thought that would be perfect for you.
Oh, thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Christopher.
I appreciate you.
Yep.
Thank you, thank you. Well, I just want to say, if I could, fun to staff, and I can tell you, it's been about 7 years plus that I got to be on this board. The work you guys have done to set up for the future is just amazing, and I look forward to seeing it. I'm very proud of what we've been able to do, and I know there's some people who've come and gone from working on the staff, and they keep setting it up, and the work you do is vital to our region, and so please know that I'm cheering you on from my house and all that good stuff. And then I'd like to say to the board, what an honor that we get to be, and just my challenge to the board is to continue down the road of knowing that we don't know all the times what we're talking about, and they do. And we learn a lot, we see a lot, but we get to set policy. And so that is a huge thing, but it's been an honor the last 8 years with all my heart to be able to sit here and be a part of that. I have no idea what the future holds, but I know it'll be good. But I do know that our city, our region, our county is in good hands. But I know the water I drink is safe, and so I appreciate all that you do. So thank you so much.
thank you. Don't forget the boat. So Member Reese.
Madam Chair, if I may, for just a moment, take the liberty of thanking Mr. Dare personally. You know, Chris and I go back before I was elected and he was elected, so we've known each other a long time. But Chris, it's been a privilege to work with you, alongside you. I know that all the boards that we've gotten the privilege of serving on, and it's quite a few, you had brought passion to each one of them, right? And it's not easy to learn about water one week and the next week health, and then there's planning, and these are difficult things. Our time in elected life is always short. I think understandably so. It's a difficult path, but you rightfully and reasonably gave credit to staff, always for the staff. They are the ones who make the organizations work and run, and you were at every barbecue, every commencement ceremony, every photo opportunity for supporting staff, and I appreciate that. So thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to learn about leadership from you. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
If I may, actually, I'll say to both Member Reese, Breckus, as well as Dare, I just want to say thank you for serving with us. And one thing that I've seen on this board is a passion for our community and making right decisions, and again, leaning into staff. So I just want to say thank you for your time, thank you for your commitment, and thank you for making sure that we do have good, clean, safe water that tastes good. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. It's been an honor.
Thank you so much. So, Member Reese, look at,
Terribly necessary, but that's very kind.
well, everyone cares about everyone, and I think that this is the spirit of giving, so. we're
Well, it's very
expecting-
kind. It looks like it's a backpack. And so
it's
I
an
won't open it
amazing
because I'm going to
gift.
recycle this beautiful bag. But thank you so much for that. And I will tell you, this is a very coveted board to be on. And so my colleagues all really wanted to be on it because they know how important it is for our region, how important water is. So it's very kind of them to have let me serve for the last several years. And certainly, if ever given the opportunity, I'll fight to get back on here.
Well, I don't think you'll have to fight hard.
Well,
quite
I
frankly,
told
but
you
I'll
they want
leave-
it.
I'll leave that to your colleagues.
Yes, my colleagues want to be on this board because it is one of those boards where the people are great. John is an absolute consummate leader and a friend and always takes my call at the worst time and hours of day to fix and navigate the issues going on in this region. But great time being on this board, and hopefully I'll have the opportunity at some point in time to cycle back.
We're expecting you to wear the backpack when you come in.
I will.
So I would like to just also recognize Member Breckus and certainly, the former chair, Christopher Dare, who I've known for years as well. I'm new to the public service, not new. I usually have spent years on the other side of the dais, but I do want to acknowledge, even in the short period of time, the dedication and commitment to all the members. And I do serve and have been serving in other boards and worked with Mr. Reese. And you have big shoes to follow too, my friend. You have big shoes to follow too. So we all can take a lot from all the members and their contributions. So I'd like to thank everyone for their service in terms of being on TMWA. And I do think one of the things that Christopher said is really important, and then echoed by Devin, is how important the staff and the leadership of Mr. Zimmerman. Listen, there's only a few of you in the room. There's a lot more folks at TMWA collectively that work diligently and are committed to our community. And some of the things that we hear, you providing the most essential part of living, and that's water. And I think the fact that you have, even in the short period of time I've been here, I've seen some of the efficiencies that are built into place, and learning the technical aspect of it is just an ongoing thing that I'm going to do my best to grapple with. But knowing that you're there is huge. And you should know how important it is to everyone, not only the folks here, but everyone at TMWA. And so thank you for all you do every day. You may not hear it, but I am sharing that we all appreciate every single time we turn on that water. It's really because we know it's safe. We know it's clean, as Member Anderson said, and I think that speaks volumes to your commitment to the community and having the support of elected officials as well. So we're here for you. And again, thank you, Mr. Zimmerman, for all your hard work. I don't know if anyone else would like to make any comments, but I'll open it up at this time. Well, I hate to close out an item that was so wonderful, but I'm going to close item number 6. I was going to ask Member Reese to wear the backpack the whole time, but I think I'll wait. So we're going to go ahead and move to item number 7, which is approval of the minutes. I hope everyone had an opportunity to review them. If there's any changes, please let us know. If there aren't, I'll go ahead and entertain a motion to approve as presented.
Move to approve.
I have a motion from Member Anderson.
Second.
Second from Member Reese. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 And sounds like the motion carried unanimously. Thank you so much. We'll go ahead and move to item 8, discussion and action on the adoption of resolution number 330, a resolution to approve the annual comprehensive financial report for fiscal year ending June 30th of 2024. And Ms. Cardinal is here to share all of the information, all the numbers.
Yes, I am. Good morning. For the record, I'm Sophie Cardinal, TMWA's financial controller. And, oh, hold on, let's wait for Sonia to catch up to me. Thank you, Sonia. As the agenda states, this item is the presentation of the fiscal year 24 annual comprehensive financial report, which we call the ACFR for short. I'm going to guess that you may not have read this year's ACFR in its entirety, but that's okay. I really don't blame you because it's 117 pages. It's known across our profession that ACFRs can be dense, full of wordy disclosures, and increasing in complexity with each accounting standard that's issued. So this presentation is really my chance to relay the takeaways that I think you probably care about most. I have a total of 4 topics, and I'm actually going to start with the toughest one first. Yes, it worked. Okay. Topic number 1 is error corrections and material weakness. We identified and disclosed 2 error corrections in our financial statements this year. When I was trying to think about how I could explain this to you, I figured a visual was the best way to set the scene. So, when you look at this picture, what do you see? Go ahead, shout it out. A lady? Taylor Swift. Oh, that's the best answer. I wasn't expecting that. What else do you see? That's great. Okay, so many answers, right? I see a musician. I also see a woman. And that's my point. Depending on your perspective or your interpretation, you may see something different. A musician, a woman. Taylor Swift is the best answer. But that's basically what led to these errors. In the net position section of our balance sheet, we report several components of net position. We calculate each component using a formula, referencing guidance from governmental accounting standards and our audit team on what to include in the calculation. The problem with this is interpretations of standards can vary, sometimes from one person to another, and sometimes from one year to the next. We see the musician or we see the woman. The standards just don't always spell things out in a black and white way. Net position restricted for net other post-employment benefits is a component that we added in fiscal year 23 to represent an amount reserved for retiree benefits. We calculated it using a formula that we thought was correct based on our interpretation of the related standard, and our auditors agreed with the approach. Unfortunately, the Government Finance Officers Association, the national organization that reviews our ACFR annually, disagreed with our interpretation. They thought we should calculate it differently, so we updated the formula for it in fiscal year 24 and also restated fiscal year 23's total. What's on the screen is a snapshot of the before and after. Net position restricted for debt service is a component of net position that represents funds set aside to pay outstanding debt. We updated the formula for this in fiscal year 21 based on our interpretation of that related standard, and our audit team at the time agreed with our approach. But our audit team this year had a different interpretation. So again, we updated the calculation for it in fiscal year '24, and we restated fiscal year '23. Another before and after is on the screen. Now, there are two really big bummers as a result of all of this. The first is that a new accounting standard, GASB 100, requires that we disclose these formula updates as error corrections, rather than as reclassifications as we could in years past. So that's what you see in Note 14 of the ACFR. The second and even worse bummer is that the error related to the net position restricted for debt service also resulted in us receiving a financial statement finding of a material weakness in internal control. The auditors are required to give us this type of finding when a large dollar item is found to be miscalculated in the financials. Matt and I accept responsibility for our financial statements, these errors, and the resulting finding, but I do hope this explanation sheds some light on how these items came to be. Our audit partner from Eide Bailly, Tiffany, is present today, so if you have questions after my presentation, she'd be happy to help me answer them. But now, let's move on to something more cheery. Topic number 2 is TMWA's financial health. Here, I just wanted to point out a few key indicators that show TMWA's financial health is strong. Simplified, TMWA's assets minus its liabilities equals its net position. And as of June 30th, TMWA's net position totaled $936.6 million and increased $46.1 million from the prior year. This also represents the cumulative results of operations since TMWA's inception. TMWA's cash on hand totaled $20.2 million, showing that TMWA has a large portion of cash available for immediate use. And finally, TMWA's debt service coverage ratio was 1.42, meaning that TMWA's net revenue can cover its senior lien annual debt service by 142%. Topic number 3 is budget compliance. This one is pretty easy. We had budgeted expenses of $137.7 million. Our actual expenses totaled $135.2 million. So we kept our costs within the defined parameters approved by the board. Topic number 4 is auditors' opinions. Our auditors issued TMWA an unqualified or clean audit opinion, which means that they believe our financial statements are fairly presented and follow the accounting standards that are applicable to us. Our auditors also performed a single audit, which involves extra testing over our management and use of federal grant funds. We reported $9.7 million in grant expenditures this year, and after their testing, our auditors found that we complied with all requirements related to that funding. So what I hope you'll take away from this is the following. Our ACFR and the auditor's reports contained therein represent a thorough examination of TMWA's finances. We've been transparent in disclosing the good and the not as good, and TMWA's financial health is strong. I'd like to also speak briefly about the PAFR, our popular annual financial report. It's a 17-page document that highlights the essential elements of the ACFR and presents them in a manner that's easier to understand and is more visually pleasing. Our intent with the PAFR is to increase transparency, accountability, and communication with the people who care about how we're doing financially. And before I conclude, I'd like to thank the team of people who helped create the ACFR and PAFR. I've listed their names on the screen. I'm not kidding when I say it is crazy how much work goes into putting these documents together, but everyone who's listed on that screen there worked very hard to do his or her part. TMWA is very lucky to have them, and so am I. And with that, is there any discussion that's needed, or do you have any questions for me?
Thank you so much for the presentation. I would like to note that Member Hill, welcome. Anybody have any questions for Ms. Cardinal or for the auditor representative?
Thank you, Madam Chair. For my part, and because we do sit on so many bodies, we see these in our home jurisdictions each year annually. I work on the other side of the aisle and work with auditors in my private life, so I understand the complexities of it. I appreciated your focus on identifying that there are some errors that are malfeasance. We don't have any of those. And then there are errors that are related to changes in standards, because as GASB evolves over time, one year we've done it one way, and the next year we're going to do it a new way. And then there are sort of errors of negligence. And I think you've explained to me what the errors were, so that makes me comfortable. Ultimately, when I look at the 117 pages from an elected standpoint, I'm looking for like the net bottom line. Was there, and there are degrees of which the auditors can identify problems or fixes. So is the right word a clean audit? What is the word that you want to use to describe this?
I think the easiest way to understand it is a clean audit. I think the technical term is unmodified. I think I'm getting old because I think it used to be called unqualified, but now it's unmodified.
So which one is this year?
Unmodified.
Perfect. So good job, fantastic work. That's all that we really need to know from this side, in my opinion.
Great, thank you.
Thank you so much for the hard work and for the team, and we'll use it as a guiding document.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other comments, Mr. Anderson?
Want to say thank you very much for the work you guys do. I'm not in the accounting world, and all I can say is I appreciate those of you that are. And it's an immense amount of work, and as we saw all those names listed, all the people that are involved, thank you for the work you do, and doing a great job as a result. So, well done.
Thank you for recognizing them.
Member Ebert, do you have any questions or comments?
No, not this time. And sorry, it just takes me a second to come off mute. But no,
Okay.
not.
That's okay. I just wanted to make sure we knew you were here.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
Of course. Anybody else? Well, I would also like to echo that I'm by no means a CPA, but I've certainly been entrenched in the world of finance, and I think it's always interesting. I think the biggest point is reclassification happens a lot, and the fact, they're shaking the CPA, so I'm kind of using it. The fact is that when there are regulatory changes, sometimes you're not even aware of them until you've already been following the changes as they were before in a compliance way. And I think really, I know you can't call it reclassification with the new GASB ruling, but I do think that Member Reese and his ability to articulate sometimes the most complex to be so simple. I have a lot to learn. But I'm going to let you know from my background, this is amazing. This is a lot of work to what was already said, and I just want to recognize the entire team for their hard work. And I think your presentation was great, and the fact that you started out, a lot of times presentations with financials go through a lot, and then at the end, we had these two findings. So I really appreciate how much you care about having and leading with that forward and clarifying that. And I think that was a great way to just disclose. I think it's clear that you care and you all care about doing what's right, and we all appreciate that. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
So this is an action item, and the motion is available both in your packet and on the screen. So I'd like to go ahead and entertain a motion at this time.
Move to adopt.
Member Hill has a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Anderson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to go ahead and close item 8 and move to item 9, which is a presentation. We'll stay on the trend of finance, getting our numbers, our pencils sharpened. Do they say that anymore?
I still say it.
I don't know. I'm really dating myself.
I like it in a negotiation. Sharpen your pencil.
Exactly. So thank you. Welcome, Mr. Bowman.
Thank you. Matt Bowman, CFO for the record. I want to echo the sentiments and give kudos to Sophie's team on preparing the ACFR. And what that does, I think we're an organization, so we understand where you have the right people in place to handle the things that need to be handled. Her team does that. And that allows me to work with the organization, thinking about strategy, fiscal planning, and really keep that as my focus because we've got the statutory, the compliance stuff handled. So it's a really big deal for TMWA, what that team does, and just fantastic. So this is the first quarter financial report, so I give these every quarter. I'm going to keep this pretty brief because we're just looking at July through September of fiscal year 2025, so not a lot of time yet. A couple of the takeaways here is our water sales were on budget for the quarter, which is good news. Our operating expenses were 7% lower than budget, which is also good news. That's kind of where we want to run with our operating expenses. So we handled inflation over the last couple of years. We've planned for that now, and we're hitting those targets. And then our capital contributions from a cash perspective were basically on budget. Just a couple of items to note on the capital contribution side. There's a large income. It shows $9.8 million for will serves. That's just the recognition of a non-cash item. We received cash related to a resource exchange agreement a couple of years ago, but we had to maintain that as a liability on our balance sheet until the provisions of that agreement were met, which had to do with the effluent moving down the pipeline to Trick. Once that occurred, we could recognize that as revenue. So that's kind of a unique item. I wanted to point that out. It is non-cash. And other than that, it's kind of business as usual for the quarter. So not a lot to report. Happy to say that. And things are looking as expected. So I'll take any questions. This is a non-action item.
Thank you, Mr. Bowman. Any questions? So are you looking for action on this, or just I didn't think
Just
so?
informational.
Just making sure.
Yep.
I don't assume in my personal or professional life, so I hope you'll be patient with me. So thank you so much, Mr. Bowman, for all your hard work. I really appreciate it. I know we all do. So I'll go ahead and close item 9 and move to item 10, which is the report regarding the ombudsman activities from September 2023 through November 2024, and request for board direction and possible authorization for the general manager to proceed with Kim Mazares as ombudsman for calendar year 2025. So Ms. Westlake is coming, and Ms.
Chair,
Mazares.
briefly, as we transition,
Yep.
just moving forward for clarity of the record,
Yep.
if we do have a unanimous vote at the end of any possible action items, let's just state at the end of that unanimous of the members present, just because we have one.
Perfect.
One absent.
Thank you. See, you are the attorney for today. Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Marcy Westlake for the record. I'm here with Kim Mazares, our ombudsman, and she has prepared a little spreadsheet here to show you how many calls she's taken for the last year, under the recommendation of Mr. Zimmerman to approve for her to continue as our ombudsman for the next year. So here's Kim Mazares.
Hello. Marcy asked me to put together something other than was in your packet, which was just the summary of all the calls. Just to let you know, 59 total calls taken in the past year. About 2/3 of those were inquiries, although 14 of those inquiries were people I couldn't reach when I called them back. Maybe they were scam calls, maybe they were spam calls, maybe somebody had already gotten their issue taken care of and just didn't return my call. But the vast majority of the calls are still inquiry calls. Hey, who do I call for this? Hey, I've got some land that's next to TMWA's land where the fire burned in Verdi. How can I find out what they're doing? Calls like that where I can direct people to the right person. And then complaint calls as well. And those calls are directing people to the right staff person at TMWA to handle what needs to be handled. And staff and I may talk a little bit about, hey, here's what I'm thinking, but it is between staff and the customer to ultimately come to that resolution, with the customer always knowing, from me, you can call me back if it isn't handled to your satisfaction or if you still think you need more help. So with that, I'll entertain any other questions you may have, or Marcy can answer as well.
Member Reese.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just sort of thinking out loud. First of all, Kim, it's always a privilege to work with you. We've known each other a long time, and I appreciate the updates. Ms. Howard, who is here in public comment, is this the kind of person which you would anticipate interacting with?
That's exactly the kind of person I typically interact with. Somebody that can come to me rather than to have to take her time to drive here. That could have come to me, and I would have directed her to Marcy, and just like Marcy sat outside with her for 20 minutes afterwards, or whatever the amount of time was, and walked her through steps and what we can do to help. I would have done exactly the same thing, gotten her to Marcy. In her case, I know a little bit more about the situation and could have talked to her about what some of the issues might have been as well. But that's exactly what can happen. I had one of my calls this time came to me as a referral from the Public Utility Commission of Nevada. I did not know that the PUCN would go, we don't regulate TMWA, but here's who you can call to help. So that call was taken care of brilliantly by staff, but that is another way that calls get to me.
Awesome. And also let me understand, with regard to Ms. Howard's concern, it was about essentially a shut-off. And I can appreciate especially when you're talking about a senior population who've lived in their home a long time and never missed a bill. I don't have the good fortune of having been one of those people in life, but some people have. And certainly after 61 years of saying, hey, I paid every time, on time, it would be alarming, like just jarring to a person.
And at 85, absolutely.
Yeah.
I will be following up with her this afternoon.
Yeah, I
told
know
her
you
needed to get
absolutely
my
will.
computer, I needed to look at her account
Yes,
and figure out what went wrong.
100%. And
She
things
was-
happen.
She was very appreciative and appreciates you listening, and I had to give her a hug at the end because she was very upset. She had to drive down here, but I hope to get her straightened out this afternoon.
Yeah, I have no doubt that you will figure it out. I suppose as a practical matter, for my part, obviously I do think it's important that we give people in any situation enough notice to be able to correct that thing. So I would hope that our notices probably are auto-generated from a computer, which just sends them out at a certain number of time. Let's just go in and make sure as a practical matter that as an agency, we are giving people sufficient time to respond. I imagine 90% of the time it is some issue related to not receiving it, not because, and of course there are people who find themselves in financial difficulty and cannot make payments, or maybe they need to make payment arrangements with you before a shut-off. I think in the several years I've been on TMWA, I've only had one occasion where a person really needed to come to me as a member of the body to say, hey, I need help with paying my bill. And we work through that in the system. I also say, because over the last couple of days I've been working with Mr. Zimmerman on a very specific case that also I think is a case for an ombudsperson to get involved in, where a homeowner was having some work done at the house in the meter replacement area, and maybe it didn't go well from their perspective and just needs someone to help them navigate. And so I'll be following up with Mr. Zimmerman and team about that specific issue. But I do think the ombudsperson's role is really a unique one and a valuable one. So I thank you for it.
You're welcome. Any other questions I can answer, Madam Chair?
Thank
or
you.
members?
Member Hill?
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I want to say, Kim, we're so lucky to have you because you're one woman, Washoe 311 or Reno Direct, and you know TMWA in and out, which is, we're so blessed to have that. And that learning curve of any new person coming in would be intense. So thank you for continuing to serve TMWA. We're so lucky to have you still on the team. I have a question for Mr. Zimmerman. On this current bill is $112. It usually is less than $30, and we found out it was a leak. Is there AI that we can use to make sure that when, there are leaks, we don't have to send someone a bill? We can kind of be a bit more nimble, because we've talked about this. This is another complaint I received from a constituent who felt like we just kept on charging and we weren't trying to help them with what the issue was. So I'm just curious if there's opportunity to find some support there.
Yeah, the short answer there is, and I'll turn it over to Marcy just to talk about some
Great.
of the topics we're coming up with in the future and the purpose of the AMI meters.
So if they do have an AMI meter, which is one that, we read daily, we can, if they go into their online account and they can set up a leak alert.
Okay.
And then that will let them know, hey, your water's, and they can set up their own parameters. So you can go as, 5 gallons every hour. If that's what they set up, they can be alerted and let them know that, hey, there's something going on with your system. We also really try to, if there's continuous usage on a meter, we do have our conservation team that tries to reach out to customers as we can, because there's a lot of them.
Right.
So we do really try to reach out to those, and they can always call, we can go out, we can do a water usage review to see if we can help them discover where the leak's coming from. Our goal is never just to keep charging them. That's, we are here to help, so.
Great. And maybe, I always like less friction if it's just automatic, and then you can unenroll yourself if you don't want to. I don't know if there's something there, because I didn't even know about that, and I have an online account, so I am going to do that for myself.
Yeah,
and
you can
I'm
go in and set up a leak alert. So
I'm wondering if there's opportunity to kind of get that word out there, because on the conservation piece, it's going to conserve water and also save folks money.
So I believe that we are working on that. I
Okay.
know Robert in Communications is working on something to send out in our bills so that we alert people that this is available if you have an AMI meter, which we are 80% deployed at this time. So we are getting closer to being 100%, making the whole city able to look at their daily usage.
Wonderful. And do I get an email bill? Is that how it works if I'm automatic?
You could get an email bill.
I don't think I do. So I'm just wondering, people like me who just don't, obviously I'm not engaged in that way. I'm just curious at how we can just think about that communication for folks.
No, we can, I'm sure Miss Lorraine's in the back there. She's ready to write it all down. So
Okay.
we'll get it going.
Thank you. But great work, and I'm really glad that you're on Team TMWA. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Well, I would like to also echo that I am on auto pay, and I know there's other auto pays that actually give me a projection of what my bill is going to be, which can indicate making adjustments. I'm just throwing this out, and maybe you're already fully aware of it as well, because you don't get a bill, and I didn't know. I just learned something myself as well, that I'm going to go on and check. But I'm just thinking out loud that that might be something, because you do get the notifications, and those who are interested in looking, if it's significant, you can, your first thing is what happened, right? So that might be, but I do want to commend, the entire team, because we all have stories of various leaks and what have you, and I do think that the expediency of TMWA reacting is also to be commended. But if you don't know about something, that then becomes a challenge. So thank you for continuing to look into how to message that out and how we can all do our part to make adjustments as well, individually. But I do have a question for the Ombudsman. Thank you for the report, and thanks for even the detail, but I just was curious, the 59 total, and I know that there's categories here that you've provided, but how does that compare? And I know that everything is unique depending on various things, but do you see like a particular pattern? Or
Great question. I racked my brain this year because there was no pattern.
Okay.
I tried to come up with, is there something I would tell you guys? Is there? And there wasn't. The thing to tell you is there is a wide variety of people getting to me for a wide variety of reasons, including what's going on with my sewer bill, or how do I pay sewer impact fees? I'm building a new business, and turn around and get them to Reno Direct, or the Sparks folks. So it's just a very wide variety this year. There was no one area that jumped out at me.
Thank you. Well, again, another indication of everyone doing great work. I appreciate it.
Madam Chair, just
Yep.
Just briefly, I just wanted to touch on, as part of our overall TMWA goals, we're always looking at continuous improvement. And so Member Hill talked about AI. That's something that is moving at lightning speed. So we're always looking at that. And Marcy, bleeds customer service. It's very near and dear to her heart and works very hard at that. But we're also a little bit waiting for all the AMI meters to be installed before we roll it out. Too much, too soon to all the customers, but that's on the horizon, and we'll come back with
What's that
further
projection
updates.
timeframe, just out of curiosity?
Hopefully July of next year.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's
Well,
coming.
thank you, and thanks for also spending time, including the hug to Miss Howard, and that's really appreciated. So Mr. Zimmerman, would you like to address the part of the recommendation for the ombudsman?
Sure, it's just to authorize the general manager, move to authorize the general manager to hire Kim Mazeras for the ombudsman for the next fiscal year under the terms and conditions of the existing contract.
And Madam Chair, I'll enthusiastically make that motion.
We have an enthusiastic motion from Mr. Rees. Do we have an enthusiastic second from anyone?
I'll make that enthusiastic second.
We're on a roll. We have an enthusiastic motion from Mr. Rees and second by Member Anderson. Any opposed or anybody commenting? So all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 So to make sure that I'm following the attorney's instructions, the motion is unanimous with the members that are present. Thank you. Thank you so much for all you do. Appreciate it. We're going to go ahead and move to item 11. Mr. Hawk, water supply update.
Morning, TMWA Board. Bill Hauk for the record. Okay. So I'm going to preface my first two slides on this water supply update by saying that I put this presentation together last Tuesday, and this time of year a lot can change in terms of snowpack and water supply. Our last meaningful snowfall in the Truckee and Tahoe basins was around Thanksgiving, towards the end of September. It's been a long time. And so when I put these slides together, the median snowpack for the Tahoe Basin was about 130% of normal. Suffice it to say, we haven't had snow in a while. Those numbers are now below normal. So you can see in this NRCS graph, it's an interpretive graph. The black line is 2025, where we are or where we were last Tuesday compared to percent of median, compared to 2023, which was our largest April 1st snowpack on record, and then 2015, which was our lowest snowpack year on record. So I'll say it again later on in the presentation, but it's extremely early in the season. You know, I've seen years where we started out drier than this and ended up with monster snowpack by, March or April. So nothing to be concerned about. And upstream reservoir storage is still in decent shape, I'll say. Lake Tahoe is about 60% of capacity. Overall, system-wide, we're about 62% of capacity. So still in decent shape in terms of reservoir storage upstream. This hydrograph shows elevation of Lake Tahoe from 2011 through projected through the end of next year. Based on the most recent runoff forecast, it's projected that Lake Tahoe will come within a foot or so of filling next year by June. So that's still pretty good. Things can turn for the worse, but that's the best information we have right now. We will have, regardless of what happens this winter in terms of snowpack, we will have normal river flows throughout 2025 and into 2026. And you can see that here on this graph. If you look at the dark gray line, those are the required rates of flow at the California-Nevada state line. And you can see that the flows in the Truckee River at Fairhead or at the California-Nevada state line will be that much or higher through the end of next year. And TMWA's upstream reservoir storage, Donner Lake, Independence Lake, and Artroa storage will be in really good shape by next June. And the drought situation or the dry situation that California was experiencing in October has been alleviated somewhat. You can see there's two U.S. Drought Monitor graphs here. One is from October 10th. The one on the right is from the end of November, and you can see with those rains and some of the snow we had late in November, conditions in California improved noticeably, and somewhat in the Sierras. I would say that in the extreme southeast corner of the state, and down near Las Vegas, that's a different situation. But in terms of drought or dryness, we're still in fairly good shape. It does show we're abnormally dry, but that's pretty normal this time of year. We are in what I would call a La Nina watch. We've been in this watch situation for a couple months now. It's expected to persist through February or March. Typically, a La Nina means a cooling of the ocean temperatures around the equator in the eastern Pacific. What it really does is it creates really wet conditions in the Pacific Northwest and a dry Southwest. Started that last storm we had in late November kind of showed that, more of a traditional kind of La Nina pattern. Really not sure what it means for us here in Reno with the Truckee and the Tahoe basins. But anyway, they are saying that it's less likely to result in a conventional, La Nina pattern, which means extreme wet, Pacific Northwest, dry Southwest. So, but as such, so far we really haven't, there's really nothing to read into it. This forecast I pulled last Tuesday. It's a 10-day forecast. It was basically showing that for the next 5 days there was nothing on the horizon, but as you can see, the next 5 days there definitely is. So there's some storms making their way over the crest right now. So over the next 2 to 3 days, looks pretty snowy and blustery, but I don't see any meaningful precip being added to the snowpack. In terms of feet or anything, I'm seeing inches. So, but. Just in summary, I'll just close by saying it's extremely early in the year, and we've all seen this before, and there's nothing to really read into this except that it hasn't snowed in a few weeks, but things are looking a little dry, but been here before. Reservoir storage is in decent shape, and regardless of what happens this winter, we'll have normal river flows throughout all of next year. So water supply is in good shape still.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Any questions for Mr. Houck? Member Ebert, any questions?
Not at this time, thank you.
We have water. Thank you. Move to item number 12, discussion and action and possible direction to staff regarding approving the 2024-2025 TMWA goals and objectives. Mr. Zimmerman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So in October, a few board members were absent because they had conflicts of scheduling, and so I think the board members present wanted to bring this item back to make sure we got input from Member Hill and then Member Reese. Obviously, we now have Member Taylor as part of this. And so we included all the goals that were approved in October. There were a few comments and changes, and I've kind of outlined those in my staff report. The two changes are Member Doer requested that we include a goal that states we would work with the Western Regional Water Commission on water quality data and information sharing. And so we've added that to the goals. And then also Ms. Atkinson in the safety part of our goals talked about adding revising a goal to be based more on internal performance indicators. And I think Member Anderson suggested to have both of those goals, the existing safety goals and the new one going forward. But I think Ms. Atkinson thought for simplicity, we would keep the existing goal and then we would report on the kind of the secondary standard going forward. And then at some point in the future, when we feel we have enough comfort with the new standard, we would make the change. And so I would just ask for open it up to questions, obviously, and then just ask to kind of reapprove the goals from October with those two changes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zimmerman. Any questions? Member Anderson.
Don't have any questions. Just want to thank you for your attention to detail and listening to what we commented on and our concerns. And overall, I love the direction of where everything's going, and I think this sums up the direction we want to continue to focus. So well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And that was a great meeting as well. So I'd like to echo the fact that really listening and incorporating some of that is very, very appreciated. This is an action item, and with enthusiasm, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Member Reese made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Hill. Those are enthusiastic motions. Okay, good. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously with the board members that are present. Okay, we'll move to item number 13. Thank you, Mr. Zimmerman. Item 13 is a presentation regarding TMWA's emergency management by Jessica Atkinson and Ian Dashman.
And Madam Chair, if I just may start out, this presentation, we wanted to give the board, this is Jessica and Ian's thoughts, just give the board a snapshot of where we were and where we are now, and really the importance of those improvements. And I want to give a ton of kudos to Jessica Atkinson for really spearheading the start of this, and then Ian for hiring Ian and all the legwork, all the work that Ian's done over the last few years to really harden our system from a physical security and from an emergency management perspective. So thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, Jessica Atkinson, for the record. I think it was also during the October board meeting that there was a question that came up about emergency management, and so we thought it was a good opportunity following that question to put a presentation together for you guys today to kind of show you what emergency management and security is at TMWA and how it's matured over the years. So with that, we will jump into Oops, went too fast. Okay. So over the last several years, we've really made a concerted effort to build a very robust emergency management and security program. And as part of that, the board has supported it through approving staffing in addition to headcounts to make sure that we had enough individuals to support the programs. But really, prior to 2015, both security and emergency management were just ancillary duties in a job description. There wasn't really a huge focus on it, and a lot's changed in the world that really required us to put a focus on that. And really, one of those big changes happened in 2018, and that was America's Water Infrastructure Act. It was signed into law, and that law required us to, our community drinking water systems serving more than 3,300, so TMWA was included in on that, to create or update risk and resiliency assessments and emergency response plans and have those submitted by March 31st of 2020. And so with that, we, in 2019, created a dedicated emergency management administrator position. And that position was really tasked with focusing on creating the program that would need to be in place so that we could be in compliance with the Act. And then in 21 and 22, we hired additional staff to support the security aspect of that program. And we established, and Ian, in a minute, we'll go through a little bit more, but we established a Physical Security Operations Center, which is now staffed 24/7. And we also added contract security staff to ensure that we were having frequent patrols and site visits at all of our various TMWA locations. And then fast forward to 2023 and 2024, we brought on an emergency management coordinator position. This is a position that's tasked with ensuring our effective response in emergencies, which has been very beneficial. We'll talk a little bit about the Davis fire in a minute, just to highlight emergency management. And then we also moved our safety function into this kind of department and elevated the position of safety and risk manager. So with that, I'll take you to the current structure. You can see from this slide, we did a quick little org chart there for you, but we have 6 unique position titles in our emergency management department that really support both security and emergency management functions. And really, the goal is to ensure that we have something in place that supports our operations and secures our critical infrastructure. In this day and age, it's absolutely imperative that this is a focus in the organization. And in order to make it all happen, we have selected a wonderful and brilliant individual. I say that because I work with him very closely on a regular basis. And the leader of this department is Ian Dassman. And before I turn it over to him, I just want to give you guys a little bit about Ian's background so that he really is uniquely qualified for this position. I don't know that we could have ever formed a more qualified individual. He came to us with 20 years of experience in the U.S. Army, where he was eventually serving as a warrant officer in the aviation branch. We often joke with him about getting a helicopter for TMWA and helping fly for us. He joined us in 2025 as an apprentice water plant operator. After completing his apprenticeship, he served as a water plant operator for 2 years. This is where he really gets a lot of experience understanding our system, how it works, all of our different facilities. In 2019, when we created that emergency management administrator position, he filled that role. And then in 2022, as the programs kind of grew and we were getting our legs underneath us, he was promoted to a supervisor level position. He opened and staffed the Security Operations Center. And then in 2024, as I said before, he was promoted to this management level position and now also oversees safety in addition to our security and our emergency management. So he's demonstrated exceptional leadership. He is extremely passionate about this area and has just done a tremendous job in really creating these programs and the training that goes around it. So with that, I just want to say how lucky we are to have him and turn the presentation over to him to kind of go through the last couple slides and talk about the actual programs themselves. So, Ian?
Thank you, Jessica. Good morning, Board.
Good morning. Welcome.
Thank you. Ian Dasman for the record. That's kind of a lot to live up to as far as all the background. I'll do my best here. So as mentioned by Jessica, our Security Operations Center, also known as the SOC or the SOC, was established at the beginning of 2022. It provides a centralized location staffed 24/7 with SOC technicians who are trained to deal with a wide variety of physical security issues and incident responses. Although our SOC is focused on physical security, the strong emphasis we place on access control at our facilities also benefits our overall cybersecurity posture by restricting unauthorized access to computers connected to our IT and OT networks. So some key functions of our SOC include real-time surveillance and monitoring, incident response and crisis management, physical threat intelligence and analysis, contract security personnel management, and documentation, auditing, and compliance. So why is an SOC important? It provides proactive security management, enhanced situational awareness, and rapid response to security incidents. Shifting gears to emergency management, we have created thorough emergency response and continuity of operations plans to help TMWA prepare for an effective response to a disaster or emergency. Our EOC structure follows FEMA's National Incident Management System, or NIMS. The model that we use is known as the Incident Support Model, or ISM. FEMA loves their acronyms, so. Which, as the name implies, is designed to support those responding to an incident. This same model is used by other agencies in our state and also in the Truckee Meadows. We participate in and conduct regular training and practice exercises, not only for our emergency management team, but also others throughout the organization that may be called upon to serve in an emergency operations center role. We use an online tool called WebEOC, which helps ensure we are communicating, coordinating, and documenting everything that takes place during an incident. This same program is also used both in Washoe County and at the state level. We also have the ability, as you'll see on the next slide here shortly, to set up a full physical emergency operations center. Currently, our physical EOC must be set up in a meeting room at our corporate facility when it's needed. As a side note, we are currently in the process of applying for a FEMA grant to build a dedicated EOC. A dedicated EOC would provide us with a place that is already set up, staffed, and ready to go when an emergency occurs. It would also give us the opportunity to be able to host regional training activities. Finally, we work collaboratively with other emergency managers and staff from Washoe County and the state. We participate in regional training events and exercises, committees such as the Local Emergency Planning Committee, or LEPC. And when faced with emergencies, we can and will send a liaison to the Regional Emergency Operations Center and to incident command posts as needed. All right, so I wanted to use a real-world example to highlight how TMWA is prepared to respond to emergencies. As mentioned earlier, we've been working since 2019 to develop formal plans and processes for responding to events such as the Davis Fire. As I go through this slide, please note the emphasis is on how TMWA's emergency management structure helped to support the tasks being performed by the operations team in the field. The fire started on Saturday, September 7th, around 2:30 p.m. Within 15 minutes, TMWA operations and emergency management were in communication and closely monitoring the fire. Within another half hour, we had escalated our emergency response level, identified an incident commander, and began coordination efforts to support field operations. We quickly established lines of communication to ensure that all key stakeholders were receiving timely information. We also logged and recorded significant events, resource needs, and allocations into our WebEOC system. Each day of the fire, we participated in regional incident management team briefings, and we also held internal briefings for our TMWA EOC team, the incident commander, our PIO, and other key internal stakeholders. As the fire grew and weather predictions painted a potentially catastrophic situation, the operations team worked around the clock to ensure we could maintain power at our critical facilities that were necessary to provide water for residents and firefighters. The goal of our EOC at this time was to continue to provide support and resources in a manner that did not create distractions for those in the field who were actively responding to and preparing for the spread of fire and additional power outages. Because of the continued and increased demands on operations and due to the potential impacts on our system, customers, and firefighting efforts, TMWA fully activated our EOC on Tuesday morning, September 10th. We also sent a representative to the regional EOC to facilitate any necessary response coordination. Thanks to the tireless efforts of the firefighters and some good luck, the fire lines held on Wednesday and Thursday. As the weather improved and fire containment was gained, we were able to gradually return to normal operations. TMWA's EOC was deactivated on Friday, September the 13th. As is necessary following events such as this, TMWA conducted an after-action review to identify what went well and what needed adjustment during our response to better prepare us for the next incidents. Our EOC structure, training, tools, and resources helped us to effectively provide support during this event. However, it was those working in operations and in the field who were the ones responding and taking care of business. For the Davis Fire, we recognized the water operations, operations maintenance, hydro generation, distribution services, facilities, and engineering groups for their efforts in this response. In conclusion, our ongoing efforts over the last 5 years have significantly strengthened our readiness posture at TMWA. We have diligently worked to not only harden our physical security defenses, but to also develop a more robust emergency management program. These initiatives are crucial to ensuring the continuity of our operations in the face of unforeseen challenges. With that, I will take any questions you may have.
Thank you so much. Well, I'd like to thank you for your service to our country.
Thank you.
I certainly want to, again, echo Mr. Zimmerman's comments to Ms. Atkinson, because really being a leader is recognizing talent and then maximizing that ability to the best one can and to deliver the mission of whatever the organization. So kudos to you for recognizing this brilliant guy that is now with other brilliant folks, right? So I think Tom was going to gain a reputation of hiring only the best. So thank you so much, again, for recognizing that you never want to be in a situation, in an emergency, and have, OJT.
Exactly.
And I know I'm preaching to the choir on that. I also would like to quickly recognize that during the Davis Fire, like, the fact that you guys even helped with even the generators and what you did should be commended as well. I know that there's much more than that, but I do remember that that was part of it. So thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Or Member Hill?
The new EOC that we're applying for grants to construct, will that be in our new property, our new building, or do you know where it will be located?
So the property that we're looking at is actually our Chalk Bluff facility.
Okay.
There's a portion of it that in the southeast corner that has enough space.
Okay. And I know just from the emergency management training I've done, the idea of everyone being centralized at the county EOC, it seems like a best practice, but I know we have our own emergencies that we must respond to, which is why you're asking for that, correct? Or, because I just want to make sure we're not going to be disconnected from the overall regional approach if we do our own.
No, great question. Yeah, I mean, our intent obviously is right now we have a meeting room that we set up as an EOC, so it's more effective for us to have a dedicated facility for TMWA specifically.
Right.
We would still, be participating in all of the regional and state interactions that are required to ensure that we have that cooperation and coordination that's there.
Okay.
So that's where we really use our liaisons, is to build those bridges between those groups.
Great. Well, good luck on the grant, and
All right.
looking forward to continuing to get updates on the program. Great work.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Madam Chair, that grant is up to 75% of the construction cost, correct?
That is
Ian?
correct.
And if I may too, I'd like to call up Will Raymond just to talk about the significance of not losing water pressure in the Davis fire when we were, we were prepared with some generators, but really with the fire movement, and not to cast blame on NV Energy, but with NV Energy shutting off power in certain areas, it was a rush. And so our team and Will's team and a lot of other people did just a phenomenal job of keeping us in water. And it's a paradigm shift, and we'll bring back another conversation about generators and what we're doing to even kind of respond to the new paradigm. But
Thank
Mr.
you.
Raymond, take it over.
Thanks, John.
We're ready to hear an enthusiastic.
Will Raymond, I
report.
was sitting back there and asked Danny, did he say call out or call up? And so he gave me the bad news. Thanks for teeing that off. But ultimately, as Ian mentioned, working as a team, I know we always say that. We all come together, we all get the stuff done. But part of this paradigm shift is a little bit of the planning that goes along, and we mentioned this at the last meeting, that there's a lot of pride that goes along, that we kept water pressure to fight the fires. But that is 100% stress. But we plan for this, even in the summer times. Every time there's a thunderstorm in the forecast, we, across the company, are planning for power outages. We are now faced with the public safety outages, the PSOMs, but in addition to that, it's also the prescribed outages to fight fires. Understandably, those are all risks that you mitigate by controlling the site for our first responders. But what goes along with that is the TMWA posture that we are looking to enhance our resiliency in response to keep water pressures up and deliver water so that we're fighting fires throughout these emergencies. And that can't be done without the tireless efforts from just about every department in TMWA. So as much as operations, we're there 24/7. We have on-call people on the distribution side. We have people making site visits. So most of those pictures, like those pictures you see up there, sometimes it's scary when you see the pictures and how close our people are. Firefighters, first responders, they're used to that. They're always there. But those are incidents where you're looking to say, wow, our people are pretty close to these high-stress incidents. So part of what John was asking is, as we take this approach to increasing our resiliency, additional generators. The engineering side becomes very critical to work hand in hand as we're trying to figure out where our critical lifelines are. When you need a generator here and a generator here, but there might be 3 generators that you need in a train. And the engineering side does a great job of new standards, new construction. So we're merging that approach with what's existing with the new reality and how we continue to deliver water during emergencies.
And we're also collaborating more and reaching out more with NV Energy. We're going to tour their emergency facility and see how they react in a fire. We'll do the same for them. Also, agencies like Truckee Meadows Fire Protection District, working more closely with them just so they understand our system and the potential.
So anything else? Go ahead and move to item number 14, which is the discussion and action to sign the first addendum to the Washoe County P25 radio system interlocal agreement of June 2020. Mr. Newball is coming up. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Dan Newbell, staff attorney at TMWA, for the record. This is a potential action item for approval of the first addendum to the Washoe County P25 radio system interlocal from June of 2020. This one actually relates to emergency management practices as well. The P25 radio system is a joint venture of many of our community partners to establish a system for communications during emergency scenarios. We currently use the P25 radios as a backup, essentially, by our emergency management team and operations during those situations. The purpose of this addendum is that the Washoe County has experienced a cost overrun in the amount of $4 million for construction and maintenance of the system. The addendum lays out the cost share of each participating agency. For TMWA, we only use, it's listed in Appendix A, but it's 0.33% of the radios that are in use in the system. And so our cost share will be approximately $5,000 for the next fiscal year and then $4,900 for the following year, bringing it to approximately $10,000. The interlocal requires that an addendum be approved by the governing body of each participating agency, and so that's why we bring it to you today. I'm happy to answer any further questions, and Ian is also available if you have any questions about our usage of the system.
Thank you. So it's great, obviously, as all the jurisdictions continue to make, it's so important to all be on the same page in an emergency. So thank you for this. No one obviously can always anticipate costs, so appreciate that. Any questions? So seeing no questions, I'll go ahead and entertain a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Second.
Enthusiasm again with the motion by Member Anderson and a second by Member Hill. Any additional questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously by the members present. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Move now to item number 15, discussion and action confirming the general manager's appointment of 4 trustees to the 115 post-retirement medical plan and trust for a 2-year term from January 1, 2025 through December 31st, 2026. Mix Atkinson. There's a lot of S's in there. I'll work on that. Thank you.
Thank you. For the record, Jessica Atkinson. Items 15 and 16 in front of you are both really related to the same thing. We have 2 post-retirement medical trusts at TMWA. Both are closed, meaning that there's no new entrance to it. The first one that we're talking about here, agenda item 15, is for our Section 115 trust. This is the trust that came over as part of the Washoe County merger. The trust document itself lays out the qualifications of the trustees that need to serve in order to conduct the business of the trust. We make those appointments following those guidelines, and then the requirement is that we bring those appointments to the board and ask the board that you confirm those appointments to make them official. So for this particular trust, we're asking the board to confirm the appointments of CFO Matt Bowman, financial analyst Sandra Tozy, and Tier 2 trust beneficiary Chuck Atkinson, of no relation, to serve a 2-year term beginning January 1st, 2025, ending December 31st, 2026.
Madam Chair, that would be my motion.
Thank you, Member Reese. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Member Hill. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously with members present. Thank you. We'll move right into item number 16. Thank you.
Perfect. So item number 16, again, it's similar. The difference with this particular trust is that it has 4 members that are required to be trustees, and 2 of those trustee members are to be appointed at the direction of IBEW, which happened in this case, and then 2 are appointed by TMWA. So we have 4 that have been appointed, and the same thing, there's a requirement that we bring those appointments back to the TMWA board and ask for confirmation. In this case, we're asking the board to confirm new trustee CFO Matt Bowman, Principal Engineer Kelly McGlynn, and then the appointments from IBEW for Water Supply Specialist Steve Enos and SCADA Technician James Weingart. The term is the same term, January 1st of 2025 through December 31st of 2026.
Thank you, Ms. Atkins. Any questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Member Anderson made the motion. We have a second by Member Hill. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously with all members present. We'll move now to item number 17, discussion and action and possible direction for staff regarding appointments to the Standing Advisory Committee to fill vacancies as presented. Ms. Folsom.
Thank you, Ms. Chair. Sonia Folsom for the record. We have 6 primary representatives whose terms are expiring at the end of this year, December 31st, 2024. All of them have agreed to continue serving for another 2 years, beginning January 1, 2025, ending December 31st, 2026. The Standing Advisory Committee is made up of a variety of customer classes. Those that are continuing are the irrigation at-large 1 and 2 and residential representatives. And I will answer any questions if you have any.
Any questions for Ms. Folsom?
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Member Hill, a second by Member Reese. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously with all members present. We'll move now to item number 18, which is discussion and action on appointments to the Standing Advisory Committee to fill the at-large 1 alternate representative and other possible vacancies for terms beginning January 1, 2025 to December 31st, 2026 from the following pool of a candidate listed in alphabetical order, which is Miss Peggy Rue, Miss Folsom.
Thank you, Ms. Chair. So we have an open door policy, revolving door, that anybody can submit applications for any vacancies. And we received one by Miss Peggy Rue. That went to the Standing Advisory Committee in October for recommendation to the board for confirmation. Ms. Rue was here. She had an emergency and is asking to withhold her application at this time.
Asking her to what?
Put her application on hold.
Oh, so we're not going to move forward with this. I'm making sure that I heard that clearly.
Yeah, no, she's not withdrawing it. She's just putting it on hold at this time.
So is it appropriate then to just go ahead and table this item?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to continue item 18.
Thank you. I have a motion to continue. I have from Member Reese. These folks are so experienced and fast. Member Reese, and second by Member Hill. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously with all members present. Thank you. We'll move to item 19, discussion and action on scheduling regular board meeting dates and times for the calendar year of 2025. Ms. Folsom.
Thank you, Ms. Chair. Before you are the proposed dates for 2025. We have stuck with continue to schedule the board meetings on the third Wednesday of the month at 10 a.m. with a few modifications. The budget hearing will be on the fourth Thursday, May 22nd, which I've coordinated with the Flood Authority and Western Regional Water Commission. However, there is a potential conflict with the RSCVA that holds their meetings on the fourth Thursday as well. So I'm trying to coordinate with them so we don't have issues with quorum or have members missing the budget hearing unnecessarily. Our Wednesday, October 15th board meeting will be held at TMWA. I have reserved 4 hours for that. And then to avoid conflict with City of Reno's council meetings as well as holidays, I have moved the November meeting to Thursday the 20th and December meeting to Thursday the 11th, which is also a potential conflict with RSCVA. So I'm in communication with them to make sure that we can have our meetings.
Thank
and I'll
you.
answer any questions.
Thank you so much. I'd like to recognize all the hard work in doing schedules. To be honest with you, I think that that is the most challenging job in some cases of anyone. So I'd like to recognize you for that. It is not easy, especially with all of our schedules, along with all of the bookings of rooms. And so kudos to you, Ms. Folsom, for looking at the entire year. So I really, really appreciate it. And this is an action item, given the fact that some things may change. And thanks for always putting this on our calendar and, notifying us. We really, really appreciate it. And I just want to make sure you're recognized for that hard work.
Thank you.
Hearing that this is an item that needs action, I'll entertain a motion at this time.
So moved, Madam Chair.
We have a motion by Member Hill. Do I hear a second by Member Anderson? Any discussion?
Just quick discussion. I do want to say that's why I was late today. I was leaving an RSCVA meeting, and hopefully we can work it out. The RSCVA meets at 8 a.m., so I can get here on time. But I did want to just note that that's why I was late. So thank you, Sonia, for trying to work that out.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously with all members present. We'll move to item number 20, Mr. Zimmerman, General Manager's Report.
Thank you, Chair Andriola. So in your board packet is an article by Cara Steeland, our Upstream Watershed Project Coordinator. Cara, as you've heard from her and also Steph Morris in the past, just on the new efforts and the hard work we're doing to try to help with upstream watershed protection to make our system more robust. This is a national journal by the American Water Works Association, which is our drinking water utility journal. And so I wanted to flag that for all of you. It's a really well-written article. It covers a lot of information, but it's easily digestible. And so that's why I wanted to include it in your packet. I wanted to let you know that the City of Reno Planning Commission approved the conditional use permit for the American Flat project. So that's a huge effort by all of our team, and I thank them for that. Also, an announcement, we did close on our building purchase, so the building purchase that you approved a few months ago. We closed on that, and so we'll be working hard to kind of see how we can fill that out. I wanted to recognize Danny, who really drove the initial purchase of it, and then Heather Edmondson, our lands administrator, who worked tirelessly on top of her day job to make sure we closed on that building. So thank you, Heather. We'll also be giving our new board member TMWA updates and doing tours of our Chalk Bluff treatment plant in the future. And then finally, I just want to thank TMWA staff. I mean, without them, without their hard work, their dedication, we couldn't hold the line, that standard of excellence that's been set by our predecessors to deal with everything, from the changing circumstances to innovating for the future. So just want to thank them.
Thank you. It's great to have, obviously, the recognition of everyone, but I, too, am going to echo Ms. Stellan's report. It's wonderful. I don't know if she's here, but if she's not, please extend our appreciation to the succinct way of sharing complex information. Any questions for the General Manager?
Just one, Madam Chair. Mr. Zimmerman, just tell us what the timeline is now with the new building. So you've closed on it. and what is the plan for getting our people in there and starting to move people around and all that?
Yeah, so it's at the very early planning stages, but our initial target date for getting, not everyone over there, not completely filling it, but renovating it enough to move in, maybe a department or two or a few people, get some groups together, is by July 1st of next year is when we want to do that. And that'll also help us kind of get the emphasis to remodel the entire thing to move more people in. But that's the target date. And then probably within, our target is within 2 years, have it renovated and fully utilized.
Thank you. Any other questions? Hearing none, we'll move to item 21. Is there any public comment?
Not in the building. Anybody online, please raise your hand to, if you'd like to speak, and I will unmute you. Nobody online either.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and close public comment and move to item 22, board comments and requests for future agenda items. Well, I have a comment. I want to thank the folks who came, some of them actually may all be here, to the Spanish Springs Cab that delivered an amazing presentation that was not only in terms of what you all do, but even giving information to the residents in Spanish Springs that was specifically tailored to what water looks like, if you will, in their area, and to talk about the new projects that are coming that we all know about. So I just want to recognize everyone for doing that. If there aren't any other comments, we'll just literally have one more. Mr. Reese? Mr. Reese actually commented that, oh my gosh, this is quite an agenda. And so I don't know if you want me to continue to stretch this out since this is your last meeting. Is there anything, you sure? Oh, he's grabbing the gavel. Okay. But we all wanted to just say that we tried to make it as enjoyable for your last meeting as possible and have as many agenda items as we possibly could. So thank you for your service to the TMWA board.
Any time I get to spend with you is a good day,
Oh
my friend.
my goodness. I'm wearing closed shoes. Thank you so much for a great meeting. This meeting is adjourned at 11:38.